What's up, everybody? Welcome back into Gamecock Central. My name is Kendall Smith, joined alongside of Collyn Taylor, back here to talk some rivalry week baseball. Say rivalry week 5 times fast, Collyn. It's not that easy, but regardless, excited to be here, excited to talk South Carolina against Clemson. You've been on the beat for a while now, not to expose your age or anything, Collyn, but how different is this series when South Carolina takes on Clemson versus any other series that South Carolina plays?
Yeah, I mean, all of these series, especially in the SEC, have juice to them because there's, a lot of storied programs with a lot of history and expectations. But this series is just different, man. It's so unique because it's 3 ballparks in 3 days. It's not a midweek series like some rivalries do. It's so unique, and every fan hangs on every pitch, and the emotion is just so different when you go place to place, and every game is so unique and different in its own way. And it's unlike anything I've ever gotten to experience in college baseball. And it's truly one of the more special weekends in South Carolina and the state, and a state that loves baseball as much as this state does. For them to have a series like this is really cool, and it's exhausting, but it's always one of my favorite series to cover.
South Carolina facing Clemson on the road at Clemson on Friday. They'll play their neutral site game on Saturday in Greenville, South Carolina at Fluor Field, and then on Sunday back in Columbia at Founders Park to finish out this series. And Collyn, a lot on the line for the Gamecocks in a lot of different ways. I'll start off by saying that South Carolina has beat Clemson in football, men's basketball, and women's basketball this year. So they want to try to go 4 for 4 and beat the Tigers in baseball as well. I know that Cock Hockey is also facing Clemson on Friday, so we'll throw that in there too, a little extra added rivalry layer to the weekend. But another storyline that makes this game a little bit more emotional is the fact that Monty Lee, who is now with South Carolina as their hitting coach, is the former head coach for the Clemson Tigers. I know he talked earlier in the week about what it means for him to go back to Clemson and coach at the school that he used to lead.
Yeah, and Monty did a good job of downplaying it, which is kind of fair. I mean, in reality, Monty's not going up there with 2 on, 1 out, needing to drive in a run. Monty's not the guy that's going to be hitting leadoff against Clemson's pitching. So, yeah, he downplayed it. He said the most unique part to it is before the games and after the games, because you're talking to these guys, you've recruited those guys, you've known them for years. That's the relationship part that's unique to it, the emotional part where he coached a lot of these guys, he recruited a lot of these guys. So that's the biggest thing. But when it comes down to it, Monty, South Carolina's cutting him a check at this point. His goal is to help South Carolina win, and however he can manage to do that with helping set the lineup, with helping guys adjust in game to making guys ready to play, and coaching them up. So that's kind of what he focused on. He acknowledged that there's going to be emotion, but I think it'll be a good a good reception for Monty, who had some success at Clemson, but just ultimately not enough to keep the job. And now he's with South Carolina, kind of back home, for lack of a better term, and we'll see what that looks like this weekend.
Well, Monty Lee has done a great job so far with South Carolina's hitting. They've been phenomenal. And actually, just on Wednesday night, or was it Tuesday night? I can't remember. When did they play? Tuesday.
Yeah,
all my days are together.
Trust us, this year, this time of year, they all blend together every single day.
It is. It's that time of the year. But on Tuesday night against North Carolina A&T, the offense stepping up to the plate for the Gamecocks and really getting South Carolina out of a bind when A&T kind of came back late in the game. And, he said he's happy with the demeanor of the players, how they're doing so far, on the offensive side of the ball. And that hasn't been something that's been really consistent for South Carolina over the last few years. It's a huge reason why right now the Gamecocks are 9-0 to start the season. And then you look at Clemson, they're 4-4 right now. They're on a 4-game losing streak. Collyn, how do you think Clemson stacks up to South Carolina, just overall looking at both teams?
Yeah, I think even based on the records and the RPI and all of that, South Carolina's the on paper better team. South Carolina's pitching has a chance to be dominant this year, and a lot of those guys are pitching well right now. The offense has been, for lack of a better term, and excuse the pun, hit or miss. They've been getting on base at a pretty good clip, hitting for some power, but need more timely hitting. But I think South Carolina is the better team right now. I don't think you can argue that. I mean, Clemson has a shot, and we've seen in this rivalry weird things happen to where it does not matter the record. It does not matter who's playing well, who has a streak, anything like that. It's all about who plays well that weekend. And right now, South Carolina's playing pretty well. They're hitting for a lot of power. The pitching's been what the pitching was supposed to be. So that's kind of where they stack up. Clemson's pitching has struggled this year. I don't think that's anything groundbreaking, and the offense has been inconsistent. So that's kind of where these two teams are, and South Carolina's playing better than Clemson right now going into it. But who knows what that looks like Sunday afternoon after everything's finished up.
Well, you know that Clemson has to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. We know what happened this past weekend. We can let some of the fans know if they don't already, but UCF swept Clemson, and then they went to Memorial Stadium, and I guess there's some construction going on over there or something that allowed them to get onto the field and up at the top of the hill where the football team runs down. And I guess UCF did their own little rendition of that, Collyn.
Yeah, so they were going over to the football facility to shower and clean off after the game. It's pretty standard protocol in college baseball as you go. If you don't have facilities at the baseball, you'll go over to where they do and shower and make sure you're cleaned up for the flight or the bus ride home. And UCF kind of pulled a Hunter Beamer and decided to celebrate the victory by running down the hill, and good-natured fun. It's college baseball. It's supposed to be funny like that. And they had a bunch of home runs, I believe, on Sunday, and did their home run celebration at the bottom of the hill. So more of it in college baseball. I think we need to have a little bit more fun like that, some edge to them, because if you're going to talk the talk, got to walk the walk. And when UCF sweep an ACC opponent, they get to walk the walk and talk the talk a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you talk about having fun in baseball. South Carolina is a team that embodies the word fun. They have been a fun team for the last several years. We need to start like a weekly segment on Gamecock Central where we just talk about words that the South Carolina baseball team uses during their press conferences.
And half of them aren't even accurate. Like half of them are just kind of shoehorned in there and aren't even like.
Start off the week where they're like, all right, these are the words that we have to get in to our press conferences.
We think that there's like a bowl or a hat full of like charade kind of, it's almost like charades where you pull it out of the hat on your way up to the press conference and that's your word. So we think that's how that operates, but we're not entirely sure. But yes, they did it in 2021, but that was all over Zoom. So you really don't get the feel of it the same way you do in a press conference room like we get it now. But it's been very, very fun to do and see. And I'm interested to see if it carries on the road. If they bring the fishbowl on the road with the vocabulary words in there.
Listen, they are so much fun, not only to listen to after the games, and you can tell there's a great camaraderie and they get along really well as a team, but they've been so fun to watch. I mean, when you're 9-0, that's going to make South Carolina fans very, very happy. This is a 2-time national championship winning program. There's a lot of expectations for South Carolina, and heading into this year, there were a few question marks, and obviously not into SEC play quite yet, so we don't really know all of the answers to every question. But Collyn, through these first 9 games of this season, who are some of those players that have really stood out for you? And then who are you keeping an eye on this weekend that you think could be a difference maker in the series against Clemson?
Oh, I've been really impressed with Ethan Petrie, a freshman that when you and I talked ad nauseum before the season, he didn't really come up because he was having struggle is not the right word, but an inconsistent fall and didn't really have a great preseason leading up to it. But guy that got his opportunity, barreled up 2 singles in games 1 and game 2 against UMass Lowell, got the start and hit a home run. And he's slugging over 1,000 right now, up near the team lead, if not having the team lead in home runs, taking really good at bats. He's going to strike out some because he's a freshman, but put together some really good team at bats over the course of the last couple games, and that's what's been really most impressive to me. Gavin Casas, another one, left-handed bat. Will McGillis playing really well. Caleb Denny, all that dude does is hit. And then you're talking about some other guys that have played pretty well too. Talmadge LaCroix, Cole Messina, two sophomores that we thought were going to play really well. Or be big pieces. And then Braylon Wimmer. I mean, what else can you say about that guy right now? Playing really good at short for the most part. Then I think he's leading the team in batting average among guys with at least 5 at-bats. He's, I think, leading the team in on-base percentage and up there top 2 or 3 in slugging. So just having the year you've wanted him to have so far. And if you're talking about X factors, I would say McGillis first and foremost, because he's right now probably the guy for the leadoff spot. Then Wimmer, a dude that's been in this rivalry, has seen the good and the bad from it. And then I'll go Cole Messina and Gavin Casas as my next two. Two dudes that are going to hit in the middle of the order. Cole's a righty, Casas obviously a lefty, both with some power. And Cole Messina is an in-state kid. Like, he grew up around both programs. He understands both programs, understands what this rivalry is about. Wanted to be a Gamecock, is a Gamecock, and now getting his first real look into this rivalry. So very excited to see what he can do and what that emotion looks like from him if he does get a hold of one Friday or Saturday night up in enemy territory, for lack of a better term.
It's going to be a great series. It always is every single year. Like you said, there's just so much emotion around this one. And in the South, baseball is so huge. And a lot of these guys who are not just from South Carolina, but from the South in general, I mean, they get it and they know what this rivalry means to so many people. So we will keep you all posted, or Collyn will mostly, over on GamecockCentral.com. He's been doing a great job, so give him some love. Appreciate it as always, Collyn. South Carolina taking on Clemson Friday, Saturday, Sunday this weekend. Can't wait. Thanks everybody for joining us. He's Collyn Taylor. I'm Kendall Smith, and we will see you guys soon.